Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Expanse, Season 4, Episode 6. It's called Displacement. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And this is our disaster movie episode of of The Expanse, where the nuclear blast from end of last episode has an even bigger effect on the planet, and maybe we even misjudged just how big this explosion was. Because
I think it's easy to misjudge because we didn't have the scale as to where this was going off.
Yeah, we have no idea how big this island was, or what the relative to the size of the planet, how big this was. I think in our heads we see a nuclear bomb, and we think of what we assume an atom bomb or a hydrogen bomb looks like from
your standard. Pick any movie where there's a nuke going into a city, and you kind of picture on that scale.
This is much bigger, because this sends a shockwave around the entire planet, and then some hours later, which is kind of what we're building up to the whole episode, a giant tidal wave, which is going to completely flood the camp and everything in the surrounding area.
Yeah, there's two stages coming. So there's this crazy fast wind first, and then we get the tsunami following that. So you've got like two hits to be prepared for.
Well, even three. I mean, the first one's not that big a deal, but there's a little earthquake they're anticipating.
Sure.
Early on, which is kind of the first sign of proof that this is coming. So Alice and Naomi tell Holden about all this because they figure this out. Once they see the explosion, quite quickly they're able to predict, okay, this is what's happening soon. And Holden has to tell everyone down there this now has to be an evacuation because there's no other options. The Belters aren't happy about it, although the leader does kind of agree to evacuate if Holden will actually stick up for them and talk to Vassarala that they have a claim of either being on this planet or at the very least one of the other planets because they've came through. And Holden says, look, I can't really promise you'll listen to me, but I will speak in your behalf. Like, he's quite happy to do that.
Seems fair, yeah.
Yeah, of course, Murtry takes this as, you're taking a political stance now, so now you're with the enemy kind of thing.
Yeah, so that when Holden comes to Murtry, he's like, right, Joe, I'll help on conditions.
Yes. What I actually really liked about this episode is that, okay, first of all, really simple plan. Okay, everyone has to evacuate. We've got the Rassi, we've got the science ship, we've got the, Murtry's the RCE ship. We've got all these ships ready to take people up. And then fairly early in the episode, it throws a wrench in those plans because all of a sudden, as theorized by Naomi and Alex, the blast basically put this planet into kind of like a defensive mode, and that seems to be stopping the fusion in their engines. So all the ships in orbit are somewhat disabled. They've got battery power, and as they point out later, the Rassi will last quite a while because it's designed to have a pretty long-lasting battery. But the science ship, for example, it does not. That's not meant to be like such a extreme traversal ship. That's meant to be just a simple science vessel.
It's just going to start floating soon.
It's going to start, well, not even just float. It's going to start plummeting to the planet. It's going to drop out of orbit because they can't speed up. And the Rassi will survive a lot longer, but will eventually happen to that as well should there be no return of the power. So, okay, cool. So that's problem number one. And this also means they can't come and get people off the planet. So, like, shit, what do we do now? And then, of course, they have the second idea, which is, okay, we've got some old school, shuttles with thrusters, old school tech that can come down.
Burn.
Yeah. And of course, okay, that's a great plan, all right. And there's a little bit of a fight with Murtry and Holden about, like him letting the Belters use his ships, and he's like, I don't know about this. I'll let them use one. I'm not letting them use both because that's dangerous.
They can have one, but they have to leave all their, the mineral that they've mined. They have to leave all of that. And Holden's like, I mean, to be honest, it's all going to be washed away anyway. So I mean, fine.
That's not really his response, but okay.
Well, in the sense that he's like, it's kind of a moot point, saying that they need to give it up, because it's going to be gone anyway.
Yeah, but you said, but fine, just as a completely different like tone of his conversation. Like, he gets angry at Murtry and says you're just killing them slowly. Like, that's a complete misrepresentation of the tone of the scene and the character dynamics at play.
I can't think of the right word, damn it.
Wrong.
It'll come to me later.
Wrong's the word you're looking for.
That was not the word I was looking for.
You're looking for wrong. But of course, so that they're sending this down, and this shuttle, as soon as it gets to within the atmosphere, just it's like Thanos snapped his fingers. It just disappears. And they're looking up at it and they're like, that's weird. Look, it disappeared. Hey, up there, can you tell us what happened to the shuttle? I was like, we can't read it. There's
no, we can't tell you a damn thing.
There's some particles. There's some particles floating around. So it's like, okay, we can't evacuate. The old school methods aren't going to work either. There's a tidal wave coming. We can't survive that. What do we do? And that's where it becomes the plan to get to the structure and somehow hide inside of that. And it's like, well, we can't just open it. Well, we'll have to blast it open then. Although notably when they get there is an opening. Like, it's almost as if Miller or whoever had anticipated them needing to get in and made it easier.
Yeah, maybe it's been a little bit fair.
Maybe.
Giving them a chance.
I do particularly enjoy when the shockwave hits, though, the winds. I actually really love the shot of Holden looking out the window and being like, Jesus Christ, and then it just like hits and all the windows go. Like, I thought that looked quite good.
I did.
And yeah, there's a lot of debate. There's a lot of neat little moments with Amos and Chandra, where, you know, he's like sort of insisting she get to safety, and she's kind of like, oh, thanks for caring. And later on, she kisses him, and it's like, oh, just in case. Like,
he's like, what the hell was that for? He looks so confused, like he genuinely doesn't understand what just happened.
Yeah, although Murtry does make sure she's aligned with him, because he's already anticipating that they're going to have to like refuse to feed certain people so that they'll survive long enough for rescue. Assuming that they're going to have to wait for other ships to come from outside the rings.
Somewhat pragmatic.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure he'll go about it in a complete douchebag of a way, but the core thinking isn't necessarily wrong.
I mean, is there really any justification for him deciding that his group are more valuable and should last longer at the expense of others?
I'm saying he's going to go about it in a douchebaggery way in just deciding that, okay, we're the ones who get it. But the core idea of we might not have enough food for everyone and we might need to kind of, in a fairer way, a lottery system of who gets food and who doesn't.
Sure, yeah.
The core idea isn't wrong.
But of course, a lot of action at the end is the obviously the wind hits. He's trying to help Akayu. He finds like a kid whose parents have just died in the winds, because not everyone's went to the structure yet. Some people are still back at the camp, and some were inside the cabins and stuff, so they maybe survived. But the ones who were outside, yeah.
I predict some very broken bones.
Because it came quite quick. Like, it was very sudden just how quick this real blast was.
Yeah, they knew roughly how long it was going to be until it came, but they didn't have an exact time on it. So when it hit, it kind of just caught a lot of them off guard.
Yeah. So then again, there's some suspense at the end. Is that they're trying to like seal the gap that they've blown open with that big sheet of metal, and Holden's up top, and he's trying to help sort of pick it up so the pulley system can grab it. And I was actually expecting him to get stuck outside, and like Miller would somehow show up and help him.
I kind of was as well. I'm glad it didn't, because that would have felt cheap in some way.
Yeah, instead it was just, the water does start to hit him, but he just dives at the last second to sort of fall in the hole, on the other side of the metal.
Probably still hurt.
Yeah, probably, yeah. He's sort of dangling, and there's still some water pouring in. Like, it's not like a complete seal.
It was never going to be, though, was it? It's not watertight, clearly.
Yeah, it's just hoping to hold it off long enough until it, levels a bit.
Sides.
Yeah. And that's kind of the big cliffhanger that the episode ends on, of course. But a lot of fun action beats throughout. I greatly enjoyed the problem solving in the ship. There was one small moment I really loved where Holden calls up after the winds, and Naomi's like, "Oh, I should be down there with you helping," and so on and so on. And Holden says, "Look, it makes me feel better to know that you're up there." And there's a pause, and he goes, "And that goes for you too, Alex." And Alex just kind of like, I took for granted, Chief. I don't know, it was an interesting little exchange where it felt like he genuinely wanted to make it clear to Alex that, no, I'm happy you're okay too, and you're safe as well.
But the way he kind of said it at first, it was like very personal to the and he's like, oh shit, yeah, Alex.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that little bit, and I like them sort of figuring things out, and like the just a general discussion of the why the fusion reactor is not working anymore, and why, like, okay, the protomolecule of the planet has done something, and as he puts it, the laws of physics have changed again. But it also gives us this other dilemma of the other ship, the science ship, which is going to, fall into orbit and, basically get destroyed. And
it's not going to be nice.
And obviously Lucia's around on the Rassi still, has a sort of unpleasant chat with her daughter, who turns up on one of the other ships. She ran off, and she basically gets angry at her mother and hangs up on her because of what her mother did and what she was a part of.
And she ran off because, again, she wants to go to university. We saw this already.
Yeah.
And this was her being like, no, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah, so that was pretty much the planet stuff. Proper exciting. I thought it was, I really think it was a nice set of simple, like, okay, we've got these deadlines, we've got these goals, and I liked how, because I actually did laugh a little bit after the shuttle burned up coming down, and Murtry goes, okay, what's plan C? Because I genuinely liked how there was an obvious plan A that felt like an easy, safe option. Oh, we can't do that. Here's plan B. Plan B fails. Shit. What's plan C?
It's one of Murtry's most genuine moments as well.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't feel like he's being sarcastic or being a dick. He's genuinely like, shit, what the hell do we do now?
And another small beat with Chandra here that I really liked is, she says, well, we're screwed, right? Like, and Amos is actually, because they're all together, isn't just her and Amos. So, like, Murtry's there, Holden's there, it's all of them. And, like, and Amos just really confidently says, we'll figure it out. And she's like, well, we have no time. And he's like, we'll figure it out fast then. And he's again, Amos is like, it's almost really comforting to hear him, who's very, like, blunt, to say, no, we'll figure it out. Like, he's not lost hope, for lack of a better word. Even though I don't know if hope's the right word with Amos. But
yeah, it's borderline arrogance in a way coming from Amos. But because he is always so blunt and matter of fact, it doesn't come across as arrogance.
Yeah. But it almost is comforting to everyone around him, because, like, well, if Amos thinks there's still a chance, then there really is still a chance.
Yeah, because if he thought they were screwed, he'd just say, yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah. Yes, and he would say it in the exact same tone.
And he wouldn't hesitate at all.
No. So I like that beat. That was good.
Yeah.
There was one scene with Vassarala where she gets the video message that was sent last episode from the Belters saying they won't be evacuated, which I actually kind of liked, that the plot had already advanced on Elos.
That's the point where that mattered.
But they were just getting this information, and I thought that was a nice little touch, just to really emphasize how much time it's taking for these messages to go back and forth.
Yeah, because they point out it might take weeks or even months for rescue ships to come in and help them.
Yeah, and of course, here, this establishes that everyone's lost contact with all of the ships. Presumably at the same time all the fusion reactors have went. They've lost contact with all these ships. So Earth's lost contact with their ships, and the OP have lost contact with, their ship.
Yeah, sounds the reason.
And this leads to some speculation. Obviously, there's some more Belter stuff here, which was great because we really enjoyed that last time, where a UN ship does come to see Drummer and Ashford, and as Ashford puts it, he's measuring the room for curtains, thinking he's going to be taking her job at some point, and basically like, hey, you've messed up, this ship attack's happened, this was on you, you should have solved this. So it kind of puts a lights of fire under them to really catch Marco, and it's like, no, he's behind this, and tells them as such. Like, doesn't even withhold this. They say to the UN guys, no, this is him, and we're going to find him, we're going to deal with this. And they track a signal that went out from that ship that was going to explode or going to crash last episode, and they trace it back to this other ship, and they actually get a clear image of Marco, like he's there, like,
yeah,
and almost to a cocky extent. It's like he's actually being really blatant, letting himself be photographed like this. This is so obvious, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to go get him, and this is going to require a fire squad. We're going to have to board the ship. Like, we're going to have to take care of this, because if we don't, then the UN won't trust us and they'll never leave, and they'll basically stick around.
Drummer's really gung ho about this, and Ashford's like, "No, this is too easy."
So yeah, he thinks it's a trap. Basically, he's concerned.
He's probably right.
He's probably right, but obviously, I love the scene where Ashford's watching these home videos of like him and his baby before he got burned.
Yeah.
A really nice touch where you can start, because because I love that he's topless in this scene, because it's like the worst we've ever seen him. Like, we've seen the extent of his burns all down his body, and then it really emphasizes when he shows up on this footage that he doesn't have any burns at all.
Yeah, it's effective.
So really good, and they mentioned that one of the signals also went out to Mars, which lines up with
Yeah,
what he said, what Marco said about Mars changing, and also lines up with what we're doing on Mars with everyone
I'm
else.
assuming this is linked to Bobby's new group.
More than likely, more than likely.
Like they're the supplier to this new faction in the OPA.
So no, I've been loving the OPA stuff throughout this,
Yeah, it's been rock solid.
and obviously Drummer says, you know, once we show Dawes and Anderson, Johnson, sorry, because it's Anderson Dawes. once we show Dawes and Johnson what we've found, and he's there, they'll back us up. They'll give us the military, essentially the military support we need.
Yeah.
So that's that, and then obviously Bobby on Mars, Bonnie with her group, and I have to suspect that because right now she believes she's doing this for the betterment of Mars, right? The idea that in the long run this is going to be better for Mars. I have to believe that if her group is connected to Marco, sorry.
I thought, to be fair, I thought it was Marcus when you were saying Marco, but I didn't want to correct.
See, now I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wasn't confident enough to butt in and say.
I think it's Marco. If I'm putting money on it right now, it's Marco, but I could be wrong, right? But if it turns out that Marco is connected to this group, given what he's been doing, and he has blatantly been a terrorist, I have to imagine Bobby's opinion of working with these people is going to vastly change very quickly.
I assume so, because I can see this coming from the group leaders being like, "Hey, no, we want this war reinstated. That'll give us purpose again. This is how we're helping Mars," and that's kind of how they're going to spin it, right?
Yeah.
And she's not going to take that shit, surely.
Yeah, it shouldn't be war for war's sake, and it'll be a nice. But if that's where it goes, it'll be a nice bit for her character because obviously she's felt kind of useless without the war. But for her to turn around and say, "No, we shouldn't just have a war for the sake of having a war. That it has to have a purpose. Like we have to really need to fight." It will be a good beat for her, I think. And obviously, she kind of bonds with them a little bit here by kind of like, thinking outside the box and getting them into a location so they can steal some tech when it was looking kind of unlikely that they were going to be able to. Lots of little character beats though along the way that I quite liked. Where she keeps trying to be friendly to the others in the group, and they're all kind of treating her very coldly. You know, she kind of points out that the other guy. She's like, "Oh, you served." You know, that's this fourth guy that comes in,
brushes right over it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to talk about who he is or what his past is. You know, he's keeping it to himself. And the idea that she in the opening scene of her where she helps, like there's a little deal going on between the boss guy and some randomer who's buying stuff, and there's like a second man who's going to like maybe attack them, and Bobby kind of diffuses it, and she has this kind of smirk in her face as she walks off, like she's accomplished something. Maybe for the first time she's felt this way in a while.
She enjoyed putting her own skills to use in a way that felt like only she could do it, or someone like her, as opposed to dismantling stuff in the shipyard, which anyone could have done.
Yeah, and this leads to her spending the night with the love interest guy, and like and it's a little awkward in the morning, but again, it feels like she's maybe finding a little bit of happiness, and this is kind of like tying into that. Like she felt confident enough to do this because she's feeling better about what she's doing during her job,
and she's getting paid well.
But I can't help but feel this is all building up to her discovering what they're really about and fundamentally and ideologically disagreeing with what that is.
And she's going to hate herself for having contributed towards any of this.
And will probably be the sole Lone Ranger who takes them down. Because back to the Western analogies that we had back in the first 2 episodes.
I can see it. I'm all in for that.
Yeah. So I look forward to it. And that was basically it. It was a pretty tight episode. I think one of the more action-packed episodes. Although interestingly for the Expanse, I had a different type of action-packed because it wasn't space battles. It wasn't that kind of thing. It wasn't aliens even. It was tidal waves. And
it was, like I say, it was disaster movie, which is very different because we have had the alien beings stalking and using guns and whatever they've got. We've had the tense showdowns of them hiding from stuff, in corridors and rooms and such. And like I said, the big space battles, whereas this was very different from any of those types of thing.
Yeah, I think what this does really well, obviously the fact that all these rings were built and kind of already gave you this feeling anyway, but this really kind of visually gives you how much of a force of nature, just how big this is, like how big these devices and whoever built them were, that this is what they can do.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes it feel like it is sort of much larger than maybe human beings are ready to deal with. But ain't going to stop them from trying because we're stubborn that way. So there you go.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yep.
Again.
What a surprise. We'll be back with episode 7. This one actually took an extra day. I mean, there's like a bunch of reasons, but ultimately we'll just say it was Christmas, and that's why.
That's a good an excuse as any, right?
So we'll be back with episode 7 as soon as we can. Let us know what you thought of 6 in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fudge for channel updates. If you want to support us, you can do that, of course, by rating the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. Helps out a lot. More people find us that way. And you can, of course, support us financially over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv. And you can do that for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your troubles. So go and have a look and see if you want to keep all the content coming. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?